Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be talking about 10 tips from an apex predator that are going to be able to help you get better instantly. So a couple of these tips are very minor, but a lot of them are also game breaking, and I feel like will help you a lot if you start to implement them in your gameplay. And as well as I feel like a lot of people don't know they exist or just don't implement them in general, and they are very, very important. But before we get into the video, I would like to ask you guys not only to drop a sub here, but to follow me on Twitch. I would really, really appreciate it, and it would help me out a ton. So let's get right into the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is recoil patterns. So every single weapon has a specific recoil pattern, and if you learn the actual recoil pattern, all you have to do is flip it upside down and invert it, and you will be able to understand exactly how that weapon is going to move and exactly what you need to do with your thumbstick or your mouse or whatever you play on. You're going to know exactly what you need to do to counteract the recoil, and you will be able to get much more efficient with this weapon in terms of aiming. So I recommend, using only a small amount of weapons, a small pool of weapons, and just familiarizing yourself very, very well with the recoil patterns of these weapons, just to maximize your efficiency with your favorite weapons if you have them. So the next thing I want to talk about is my actual strafing method, and this is not really strafing because I feel like most people understand how to strafe, but it's basically whenever you're reloading. A lot of times I'll do this because I'll have to reload mid-fight and I'll be right in front of somebody, but basically you want to slide, jump, or just slide and then go back and forth. As you can see here, I do it in the range, and it is very, very effective. It will prevent you from being shot a lot since you're adding a lot of movement, and it throws people off a lot because after you slide jump and then you strafe backwards, it kind of throws off their aim, and then you go back the other way, and by that time you're usually reloaded. As you can see here, it's, like I said, it's very effective, and I use it all the time whenever I have to reload in front of somebody, which is obviously not ideal circumstances. You never really want to be reloading in front of somebody, but this tip, this little movement technique will definitely help you guys out a lot if you find yourself in that scenario. Just try to avoid dead slides because they could get you killed. If you get shot and you try to do this, you will dead slide and it'll get you killed. So the next thing I want to talk about is using knockdown shields for cover. This is a very, very amazing technique that a lot of pro players do, and a lot of the best players in the game always utilize this. So if your teammate goes down, you could use their knockdown shields for protection. You could use it to hit a battery. You could use it as a head glitch or a cover, and it is very effective at winning 1v3s or 1v2s or just 1v1. If you sit behind that knockdown shield, you could always win the one, and it is incredibly difficult to fight against. So if you find yourself in a scenario where you're kind of out of cover and you're in a 1v1 or whatever the situation may be, using your teammate as some cover is very effective, and I don't see a lot of people using this technique except for on the higher end, and that's really, really useful, and you will be able to do so much more for your team in these scenarios in general. So the next tip I have for you guys is actually zone prediction, and contrary to what a lot of people believe, a lot of times the zone has a specific pattern. As you can see by this clip I'm showing you right now, basically the zone tends to keep pulling in the same direction that it pulled in previously. So as you can see here in this clip, it pulls to the left side of the map, and then it pulls there again, and it pulls there again. It's not a 100% accurate prediction of where the zone is going to move. There's no way to perfectly guess it unless you familiarize yourself with every single end circle, which takes so much time and practice. But basically this is a pattern that seems to be relevant more times than not. So just understanding how it works and implementing it if you ever need to rotate to the next zone, you can pretty much guess where it's going to be without even scanning the beacon and just set up there easily. The next tip I have for you guys is another one that has to do with the zone, and it is knowing exactly when you're in the zone. So a lot of people understand that when you're outside of the zone, the circle will actually blink, as you can see here on the screen. But another thing you need to note is that there is actually a bar underneath the minimap, and it shows a little diamond. The diamond will be whatever color your player model is. So in this case, I'm green, and it will show you exactly where you are in terms of how far you are from the zone. So as you can see here, when it gets to the white part and it locks in there, that's how you could accurately tell if you're right at the edge of the zone. And this can make it so much easier for perfectly predicting how close you are to the edge of the zone. As you can see here, I get right next to it, like one more inch and I'd be out of the zone. So once you understand this little tip, you'll be able to get as close as you can to the zone, which will help a lot if you're in high level like diamond or predator gameplay, where a lot of times the zones will go all the way to the end, and it could be a little bit difficult to understand if you're going to be in the next zone or not. So using this will help you out a lot. So the next thing I want to talk about is actually thirsting down players. So a lot of people don't know this, but basically if you just third party somebody and say the one team gets full wiped and the other team has one knock, if you come in there and thirst the guy that's already downed, you will get the kill since the person that killed him is no longer in the game. So this is a really useful method for getting higher kill games. As you can see here in this clip, my kill goes up even though he's not even my kill. And I use this technique all the time, especially when I'm going for higher kill games. It helps me a lot in 20 bomb games or higher kills than that. A lot of my personal bests, I've done this multiple times on third parties, and it's very, very effective if you want to pad your stats a little bit. So just make sure that you don't have to wait for him to revive, but if you see that somebody is down, just try to thirst him first and then worry about killing his partner next. So the next tip I have for you guys is actually canceling out fall stagger. So as you guys know, when you fall from a great height in Apex, you are unable to sprint for a little bit of time, and this is easily counteracted by kicking a wall or any sort of object except for the ground. The ground used to work a long time ago, back in like Season 0 and Season 1, but it no longer works. So basically, whenever you hit the ground, or before you hit the ground rather, you're going to want to make sure that you kick a wall or any sort of object. It could be a little bit difficult to time and it could be a little bit tricky, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to completely cancel out fall stagger, which is incredibly helpful, especially when you're falling from the dropship. And if you just got respawned, we'll say, and there's a team close, you can cancel the fall stagger and just kind of, you'll have a much better chance of escaping in general. So it's very effective in that aspect. So the next tip I have for you guys is to actually try to reload before your ammo completely runs out in the mag. As you can see by this clip, if you reload before the ammo completely runs out, you are going to get a quicker reload animation. So you want to try to time it a little bit nicely so that you could reload at 2 bullets left or 1 bullet left if you can really get the hang of it. And once you get the timing right, you will be able to do faster reloads, which helps you out a lot because it adds like a full second or maybe a little bit more than that onto your reload time, which could potentially get you killed. So unless you think that you're about to one-clip the guy and you need every last bullet, that's the only case where you don't want to try to reload beforehand. So the next tip I have for you guys is to look around while you're falling from the dropship. So basically, when you're first dropping into the lobby, you're going to be able to look around in the surrounding areas, and you're going to want to look around for other teams. So this is really, really useful for a couple different reasons. One, you'll be able to know if anyone's dropping with you in your POI, but also, because that's a little bit more obvious, but you'll also be able to see if people are going to be able to third party you quickly. So definitely be looking around at the surrounding areas because you're going to get that information that you're going to need to know if not only can you third party teams in surrounding areas, but you also know if you will get third partied if someone else contests you off drop, and you want to know if you can fight them or not. A lot of times people will land the next spot over, so you're just going to get insta-thirded, and with this kind of information you could avoid the fight, kind of get out of there, and maybe when the other team rotates in, you could end up third partying and being the team that comes out on top. So this information is very, very valuable, and you're literally not doing anything when you're falling from the dropship anyway, so you might as well take a look around. So lastly, the last tip I have for you guys is to practice sky nades. As you can see here by this clip, obviously, in this clip the dummies take 50% less damage for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. So if you get a frag grenade directly on them, it only does just 50 damage, but if you do that to a regular player, it will do 100. So sky nades are an incredibly effective method of getting people out of cover and flushing people out in general. And just in general, frag grenades are not that good unless you use them as sky nades. So you just want to practice the trajectory and the angle at which you want to throw them, and it will usually just land directly behind somebody without them having any chance to react. So they're really, really good in that aspect because people don't really have the chance to react. And much like a thermite grenade or anything else, it blows up the second it hits the ground. So there's no running away from it. There's no anything. It just lands on them and they get blown up. You never really see it coming. So sky nades are an incredibly effective way of using frag grenades, and it definitely makes frag grenades the best in the game. So you want to be utilizing it. I'm sure you guys may have noticed already, but a lot of people use it in arenas. It's really good on Party Crasher, where the two teams are at the top of the boats, and you just kind of throw it up, and it'll blow people out of cover, it'll blow them up, and it does like 100 damage every single time, so it's incredibly effective. So you just want to practice your sky nades because a lot of the top players, all of the top players, I would say, definitely have this on point and down to a science, so you just want to get better at it. It will help you out a lot. So that's pretty much it for today's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.